Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Jeff Robertson Show. Got a special episode for you today. Just want to talk to you about something that came up the other day on a podcast I was on. And as we were wrapping up, I speak on resilience and I speak on my journey through public safety and all those things that impacted my life and gave me this just amazing purpose of good and bad throughout my career. And on my podcast, I had talked with a couple different guests that led me to this discovery of what I'm getting ready to teach you today. And it's an absolute game changer for me. And I'm hoping that if you apply it the same way that I have, that you're going to find that it is going to be super helpful for you all as well in all areas of your life. One of the things as public safety professionals that I felt like I was struggling to do was we always say, hey, just put that behind you, move on, forgive yourself. But how? And sometimes traditional methods of forgiving myself that other people had told me just didn't resonate with me. When I was speaking with my friend Jody Peterman on my podcast, one of the first times she introduced this to me, was we were going through this whole forgiving yourself and like how what it all takes. And she goes, "Oh, you need to do the Ho'oponopono prayer." And I was like, "What is the Ho'oponopono prayer?" And so it set me off on this path of new discovery of like, I got to figure out what this is because it kind of spoke to me. And she was like, "Oh, it's an absolute game changer for what you're trying to do." So it led me over to a couple other podcasts. So credit to all the other creators in the world that provided this to me, but they provided it in a way of just basic, very general, and some was directed to men, some was directed to women. In this episode, I wanted to tell you how I applied it in my public safety kind of healing process, whatever words you want to put in there, but just something for me to really help process scenes and events and things that play through my head and some of the survival mode things that I was stuck in and how my brain wouldn't shut off in different areas. So just part of my process of working through and learning to just kind of process all the things that went on. This was something that really I felt like I turned some serious corners with it, and I found it later in life. You know, I'm many years removed from my public safety career and job, but those scenes and conversations still come up from time to time just because of the impact that it had on me. So I wanted to share that with you. And what came up was he had asked me, when it comes to resilience, I don't remember the exact question, but he had said, when it comes to resilience, what's one piece of advice that you want to give to public safety folks that are listening to this episode now, just how they can move on or what have you. And I got to, I kind of rambled through my answer there a little bit as I was putting my thoughts together. And what really started speaking me with there was we go to these scenes and we have whatever goes on, good, bad, and different, life, death. And what goes on there just plays out that operation or scene, we all play a role in that. And whatever that role may be, sometimes it sticks with you because of whether you fell short, whether it may have been just a scene and the elements of the scene or the incident that, where it's mass casualty or whatever. So it's just way more involved, a lot more moving pieces. Childhood or kids, things that really pull those um, trigger those emotions with us as an adults because of just the nature of the situation. Being able to just, I was like, hey, just one of the things I would tell you is just figure out your closure with those incidents and that you've done your job. It's not your job to take other people's problems with you. And it's easier said than done. And for me, when I teach and speak, it's always a goal of mine to make sure that when I'm done, you're leaving with actionable items and actionable strategies. So here's what happened to me recently as we're recording this was I'd had a guest on my podcast, intuitive police officer, and he had we had some commonalities in just through story and different things, and so I was just kind of journaling relevant incidents that he and I both had experienced, and one of the commonalities that we had was we both had worked around the same time in the 90s. We had worked both. Mine was an 8-year-old. So I think his was a 5-year-old maybe, of child death. And mine was an accident, and it triggered, like, I just got to thinking about it, and it not triggered me in a negative way, but it got me thinking about that scene. And it was in my case, it was it was in January of '99. I remember maybe January 20th of '99. I get I'm in our dispatch center. I'm a deputy then, and a call goes out. Um, School bus accident on a 4-lane highway south of the main town that we were headquartered out of. So I respond, and one of the first public safety. I'm law enforcement at the time, but I'm still an EMT. I may have even been what would be an intermediate now, or almost a paramedics. How I tried to explain it to folks who didn't quite understand. Cardiac tech's what it was in Virginia at the time. So I respond, and I come up on the scene, and I find the school bus um, is there. I find a tow truck, and in the middle is this car that has been compressed and pushed under this school bus. So immediately, one of my things that registers is get to the school bus, because that's where the mass, right? The school bus had just left school. I know about my timing. I know what's going on. They're offloading kids. Their proximity to the school means they just had, they hadn't been on this route long. So just in my head, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to bus, but these buses are built like tanks. So with all the violent impact that it had, it maybe had a scratch and a bent fender. Like, they are well built pieces of machinery and built for safety. So as I am turning, there was one of the other first responders who was like a fire warden, a forestry guy. He was also the chief of, or had been a chief at some point in time of one of the local fire departments. And he was there, and he kind of called out like, hey, this is what I got. So when I get out of the car, I go up, and there is this, I see the car, see the truck, and but my attention is going toward the bus. And the other responder goes, everybody on the bus is good, go to the car. And I was like, go to the car. And it was starting to register me, like I could see this pancake piece of metal. It was a car. But and then I saw there was a lady in the driver's seat. She was deceased. She'd been there. So that's an obvious, like, that's a given. Like, I had saw that she was deceased. And I saw looking through the 4-door car, I see a little boy on the other side. And I'm like, what's he doing? They go, he was in the car. I'm like, you all right? And they're like, he's fine. Go to the girl. And I was like, well, I don't see a girl. What do you mean? And I had kind of overlooked it, but to my right was this young girl. And she was on the passenger side of this vehicle. And anyway, during the incident, it had collapsed. The car had collapsed, and ultimately, as all this motion and kinetics is coming together, it pushes her out of the back door, kind of comes open, and the violence, it ends up pushing her out onto the ground. Um, so we immediately turned attention to her, and she ultimately didn't make it. But I remembered, and so I got to going through my head. So I'll tell you all that to tell you this. I want to tell you a little background about just kind of where I was on that scene that night. And I played it back, and I was telling my wife, and she goes, "You've never told me about this one." I go, "Yeah." So this was one of those ones that was early in my law enforcement career. I've been doing public safety for a long time. So it was one of those child deaths that, like, they stick with you. And I kept the news article up until I moved out of the house that I was in. So probably almost 10 years I kept the article, and would just kind of check in on the just the names from time to time. But this time, I felt I was more prepared for this memory to be recalled, and it comes from just some of the work that I had done. And she was like, well, like, kind of what's going on. I'm like, I just remembered, I was frustrated with myself because I hadn't took time. I didn't do a good job of just that assessment, because I was so tunneled in on that bus that I kind of missed part of it. And nothing, you're talking seconds, since, like, I explained it, but something that frustrated me as that young police officer, or that person who holds himself accountable to higher standards. And I just remember, just like, we worked on her. We did everything we possibly could. We life flighted. I had friends of friends that, like, I had some of the best in the business of EMS and emergency response was with us on that scene. So like when you look at, I was thinking about that of the people that I had with me, like some of the top notch responders and know how to fix problems and can intubate and do just all sorts of things under pressure and in pediatric situations. So ultimately, so tell you, I want to kind of give you the background on these thoughts and these emotions that I'm trying to process at the time, and thinking about me. And I was like, wait a minute here, this is a great time to use the Ho'oponopono prayer. I butcher the name all the time, but Jody had told me about it, and I found it in another place. So when I'm on this podcast and the gentleman asked me that, and I go, "Hey, here's a great thing that you can do." And I said, "I haven't recorded my own podcast yet, but I'm going to." And so I made my purpose this week to get this done. And here's basically the purpose of it: is this the Ho'oponopono prayer is a Hawaiian spiritual practice, and it consists of four simple phrases. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Repeating those phrases silently or out loud, it just helps find that healing, forgiveness, and reconciliation for yourself. And here's where it comes from me was just acknowledge when you get to the I'm sorry is acknowledge your role in the situation. And part of that for me now is going back to almost many years later, over 20, almost 25 years later, going back and this is how I processed it was I reimagined that scene and me being there in the bus and the car and just kind of looking into it. And this version of me kind of just sat down beside that guy in my head, beside that Jeff Robertson, and just said, "Hey man, it's okay. I'm sorry. You didn't know what you didn't, you were learning. You're young in this role, and you had a lot going on that day. You had three vehicles. One of them's a school bus that has many, a bunch of kids on it, and you're on the side of a 4-lane highway, and you have 1 to 3 people that's there to help you. And I sat down and just acknowledged the scene, but in my head, I'm kind of talking like I'm talking to me. I'm talking to that guy in uniform on the side of the road there. And then I just said, listen, forgive me. And I'm like, you're forgiven. So this version of me is talking to that version of me, just saying, hey man, just forgive, I'm gonna forgive you because you didn't know at the time. You did the absolute best that you could possibly do in that moment. So I'm forgiving you. So I'm forgiving myself. It's me in my head. I'm kind of talking to me because it just helps me process it in a way of like a mentor kind of being in your ear. The thing about mentor being in your ear is you hear what they're saying. It just don't stick like it does when it comes from you. So just going in that moment and just saying, hey, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And then thank you. It's like, hey, thank you for being there. Thank you for doing all the things that you did that day. Thank you for making a difference. Thank you for all the positive outcomes that happened and your role that you played in those. And then I love you. It's just reminding yourself, it's just that self-love that sometimes we overlook for ourselves is, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. And the best way to do this sometimes is just catch yourself, public safety folks speaking to you now. You should understand. If you don't understand box breathing at this point in time, your trainers are failing you because box breathing is an absolute in any kind of emergency setting. And it's just a 4-second inhale, or some people will teach 5. I like to do 4 inhale, hold that inhale for 4 seconds, and then slowly let that out for 4 seconds. Bottom, rest for 4. So we're going to do it real quick. You ready? Inhale. So just that 4-second inhale. Keep doing it while I'm talking here. Hold it for 4 seconds. Let that out for 4 seconds. Then hold it at the bottom. If you don't know this, if you find yourself under stress, if you find yourself in a high stress environment, you're getting shot at, you're responding to an emergency scene, whatever that might be, something that's got your heart rate jumping, your anxiety levels is getting off the chart there. There's a lot going on. Hit that 4-second, do that box breathing. Nowadays, I teach this to my athletes that I'm coaching or on the field. Like when they get ready to step into a batter's box, give me that box breathing before you're going in so it takes our tunnel vision. And that's probably what happened to old Jeff that day. It takes our tunnel vision where we're looking through these small lenses and it opens us up to where when you start getting that much breath in, your brain basically says, "Oh, if I'm breathing this good, I must be safe," and then reminding yourself like, "Hey, you're safe." But in this case, is we're gonna do that 4 second inhale, and we're gonna start thinking about that moment, and it might be a moment. And I'm going to use, you might be this emergency scene that you feel like you fell short on. And I want you to really go back and just kind of go back to that moment where you feel like you fell short, and look yourself in the eye and just know that, hey, this is me coming to talk to you right here. This is us. And then this is where I want you to apply that. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. It's the ultimate path to forgiving yourself in those moments. And it might take you some time to just get real with that, but just to, when I say I'm sorry, just acknowledge, just talk to you, give yourself some like, hey, this is what was going on. You weren't as smart as where you were. You weren't as smart as what you are now to know that things that you should have did differently. This version of you that's talking to you understands. Like we will handle this way differently than if we ever come across it again. But I'm sorry that you wasn't as prepared as you are now. It's okay. We know more what we would do next time. And then please forgive me. Just please forgive me for the role that we played, and then thank you. I love you, folks. You'll find me. Sometimes I'll wake up restless 2:30 in the morning, 1:30. Just my brain will flip on, and I started just repeating this prayer in my head. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I started repeating that. And what I found was, man, it just helps me find that peace of whatever's going on in my head. And sometimes I'm working, as removed as I am, I still go back to some of those old cases and old events. And I carry some moments with me of just where I feel like, man, I really hate that this happened the way it did. And this has helped me find some closure. Another place I'd love to see you apply this is back to your childhood. So after my friend Jody Peterman had introduced this to me, I grew up kind of quick, I would say. I'm very fortunate to have lived the life that I live, and it's not been a curseful life at all. It's all been very meaningful and purposeful, and took me a little while to realize that. So, tell you all that to tell you this is I had went back, and my mom had gave me some old picture albums. And sometimes as when we're kids, you fall short, or you might be harboring something where just some guilt or whatever. And in my case, 4-year-old me was probably exposed to a little more adult stuff than what he should have been at the time. And he didn't know, you know, all the things and factors that was going on in his life. It wasn't his fault. And I didn't understand how to really process that until this. So basically, what I do is I find this old picture. I found an old picture of me. I don't have the exact one here, but I'll hold one up if you're looking. I went to my picture album and I found these old pictures of where I was in that life of just where I think maybe I feel like something was missing. And part of just my conversation with her and then listen to the other guy was that he helped me go. He's like, "Hey, go find some moments, and this is what I'm telling you to do: is don't just use this in your public safety career, but like go back to some of these other moments that are prodding on you, or they come up and they come up in a negative way, or they provoke you, or there's things that went on, and just go through that phase and just hit that breath, 4 second inhale." And for me, what I did was, and now I do this a little more, but here's was the key was the picture was I made eye contact with me. And when I made eye contact with me, I was just immediately, I was like, "Hey, you're the guy I've been needing to talk to." And I pulled that picture out and I just said, "Listen, man, you made it. Look, this is where you are now. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you." And I went through the Ho'oponopono prayer, just looking at that picture, just grabbing that picture and looking at that picture of young me. Turns out, like I spent, some time, and this will still come up with me today, is I'll still go back and find some of these moments that I feel like grind on me, or they will they'll pull out or elicit, or they'll provoke this negative emotion or this negative feel with me, and I'll stop and I'll just go back to that moment, kind of lean into that version of me's ear and just say, hey, man, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. You didn't know what hey, we're better than that now. And it's helped me find closure upon closure and come to peace with a lot of things that was still kind of just nagging at me. So for the public safety folks out there, I didn't go search to see if there was anybody that was doing anything along these lines. I just felt that nudge to where I could come in and hopefully help you all on your journey as you're responding to emergencies, or you're coming on the job, or you're going off the job. This is a really simple way, and it's very, very simple, y'all. It's crazy how simple this is, but it has absolutely helped me take 15, 20 years of chaos and really sit down and get right with it. So all I'm asking you to do, if this helps you, apply it. If you did, and if it helps you, share this episode, or record your own version. But whatever you do is just make sure we help kind of put this out into people's hands that'll help them get better with it as well. Let me know what you think. Let me know if it's helped you. Let me know if it's a game changer for you, or how you apply it. Man, I would love to hear any feedback on this. It nudged me in a way, especially recording that episode and interviewer talking about PTSD and moral injury and those things that come up with us in the profession from time to time. So just let me know what you think. I can't wait to hear from you, and make sure you pay this forward and pass this episode on. Do that box breathing. And remember, as you're doing that box breathing, get you 3 or 4 of those rounds in, and then all you're looking to do here is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I hope that helps, and I can't wait to hear from you all. See you soon.